Hello guys, how are you all? Welcome back to my channel. So, today we are gonna see, what if Izuku has multiple quirks and falls in love with Momo, part 1. So before we start, go check out the author of this fanfic, Drywell117, link is in the description, also subscribe to our channel, and like this video, so let's begin the video. It was a sunny day, as 5 4-year-old kids were in the park. The first was on the ground, with the second one being in front defending her from the other 3, who were standing in front of the 2 facing them. The one defending the kid on the ground was a 4-year-old boy with his round face framed by a short mess of fluffy dark green hair that sticks up at odd angles around his head, casting noticeably dark shadows onto itself. His eyes are large and somewhat circular, their eyes is the same green color as his hair and are usually stretched quite wide, giving him an innocent appearance. He has a set of 4 symmetrical freckles in diamond formations, one on each cheek, but despite these prominent traits, he is often described by others as being plain looking, while on his left side forehead is a flame-like pattern on the left side of his forehead and a flame-like pattern on the right side of his lower cheek that he was born with. "Why are you being so mean? You're making her cry, Kachin," says a green-haired boy named Izuku Midoriya. "If you keep on hurting her, I'll stop you myself," says Izuku with his fist raised and a bit shaky. When he said this, the leader of the group, a 4-year-old ash blonde kid named Kitsuki Bakugu, gets a smirk as the 2 behind him activate their quirks as he speaks. "Do you want to pretend to be a hero?" asks little Bakugo as he slams his hands together, causing a small explosion, indicating he has an explosion quirk. "You don't stand a chance without a quirk, Deku," says little Bakugo, calling Izuku by a nickname he gave him. Izuku's foot steps back a bit uneasy as they come at him. Knowing he doesn't have much time, right now he's thinking about what to do. "They are coming to rush me. I need to know. I need to fight and defend this girl, I won't run. Not now, not ever." Thought Izuku decided to take action as his resolve was solidified as he rushed forward to intercept. When he chose to do this, his eyes took a glowing plum red as his nails elongated a bit and the marks on him started to glow. But what was shocking was that his resolve had manifested something near him that chose to stay in and let its host handle it, as Izuku became a bit angry and said 2 words coming at the 3 kids with Bakugo. "Wind blade," says Izuku, sends low-level black wind blades at his attackers, making it hit dead on and forcing them to fall back as they look at Izuku. "If you wish to continue, then fine. Let's fight, Kachin," says little Izuku as they look at him. "Whatever. Just because you have a quirk doesn't mean anything, Deku. Come on, we're leaving," says little Bakugo, angry as he and his 2 followers leave with him. After they left, Izuku went back to normal as his quirk seemed to deactivate his calm emotions. The girl behind Izuku got up and went over to him to make sure he was okay and not hurt at all or tired from using his quirk just now. "Hey, are you alright?" asks the little girl, concerned as little Izuku turned to her with a smile. "Oh yay, I'm alright. It's just so cool what I did. Though, I am a bit tired from using my quirk like that," says Izuku excitedly, but calming down gradually. "Good, I'm sorry for getting you into this mess, please forgive me," says the girl sadly as Izuku picks up on that. "Don't be. Kachin can be mean and it was wrong of him to pick on you like that. So if it ever happens again, I'll be your hero and a true gentleman one day," says Izuku, dusting himself off with a small smile. "What do you mean by that?" asks the little girl, curious. "It's something my father wrote to me in a letter. As he's always away doing hero work, not being able to tell us his hero name, along with it he can't be home. So for what just happened, you were a girl in distress in that situation. He said that a true gentleman has to be brave enough to go into a fight he knows he'll lose. So even though I won today, there will always be someone stronger than me. But one day, I'll be strong enough to win every battle to protect those around me," says Izuku with a smile, while making the little girl smile at that as well. "Well, he seems like a great hero, whoever he is," says the girl with a smile. "Yeah, he is," says Izuku, thinking about the letters so far about it, but then figuring out something. "Hey, what's your name by the way?" "My name is Izuku Midoriya," says Izuku, introducing himself. "Momo yaoi Rozu," says the girl with a smile. Momo has short black hair that is tied into a spiky ponytail with a single bang hanging on the right side of her face. "Well, it was nice meeting you, Momo, but I have to leave now. So I hope we meet again," says Izuku, about to run off as he was stopped. "Wait. Here," says Momo, pulling out a paper, a pen, and writing something down. "This is my house phone number so that we can be in touch. I hope we can become great friends later on, and once again thanks for saving me from those bullies," says Momo, handing him the paper. "Me too. Bye," says Izuku, leaving the park. "Here's the sad truth, all men are not created equal. When I was 4 years old I learned that some kids have more powers than others. Along with that, I found out what my quirk was and the legacy I carried with it. Doctor's office. Izuku was now sitting in a hospital room with his mother next to him and the doctor across from him. As the reason behind this was for the results to come back in for the identification of his quirk. Well, Izuku, it looks like you have a threefold quirk. This one is special. I can tell you that much. Says the doctor, making Izuku become shocked at the thought of having 3 quirks. Oh dear, is that so? Because most of the kindergartners in his class have begun to show signs already. Says his mother Inko Midoriya. Now Inko is a slim woman who has short hair with a ponytail on the left. I see. My records show you're a 4th generation quirk user. What powers do you and the boy's father have? Asks the doctor. Well, my family before in the past has been known to have had different kinds of quirks with different powers, which could be a cause of this. But as for my quirk, I can float small objects towards me and my husband breathes fire. Says Inko, making a signal to the doctor through eye contact about that which he picks up on as she continues speaking. They're useful enough, I suppose. Says Inko, making Izuku's miniature version of the All Might toy float to her. I see. Izuku has shown great signs now, but he may have already manifested his quirks when he was born with the birthmarks he possesses. But instead of a combination of both, he has 3, and the thing about his x-rays are what is throwing me off a bit. Says the doctor as he goes over to the x-ray picture of Izuku's foot to continue speaking. You see, when superpowers first began appearing, there were many research studies conducted, but many also found that there were supernatural powers in the world even before the rise of quirks. What the doctors found in the studies was that there was a link between the bones in a person's foot and their likelihood of developing a quirk. People with powers only have one joint in their pinky toes, as their bodies have evolved into a more streamlined version of the human form. Says the doctor, getting up as he points at the toe. You can see here that Izuku has 2 joints in his pinky toe, like roughly 20% of the population these days. But now that Izuku has a quirk with this, there's a possibility that the pinky toe study may be wrong or it's not, but what we do now is that he has these quirks, and it's an entirely different mutation that was most likely caused by others in the family. Says the doctor. So what are the quirks I have? Asks Izuku, getting it just a bit. Well, the first one is a transformation and accumulation quirk that is based on enhanced strength that comes along with most likely other abilities under it, but may have more to it. The second one is an emitter quirk capable of copying multiple abilities and combining them for devastating results. With this ability, the user is capable of detecting and sensing intensities of auras given off of other abilities of different quirks and amping any of the abilities they copy. However, the number of abilities you can copy appears to be finite, so some will be removed. The third is an emitter quirk that brings forth or generally presents itself as a figure hovering over or near the user and possesses abilities beyond that of an ordinary human that I would put in my own words a stand due to the fact that it stands near you. Says the doctor, informing him. Amazing. Says Inko, surprised at this. Okay, that's awesome, I can be a hero. Says Izuku happily at this. But is there somewhere I can train these powers under supervision? I want to have perfect control so I don't hurt people and have them activate out of emotions. Says Izuku, remembering what happened at the park not long ago. Yes, there is. I'll hand that to your mother on the way out, but what would you like to name these quirks of yours? Asks the doctor as Izuku was thinking about it. Well, the first one I'll call Musen's Greed, the second one will be Aura Manipulation, and the third will be called Star Platinum. Says Izuku, finishing up with a smile on his face. Okay, very good, now let's finish up here. Says the doctor. Later. After the doctor's appointment and finding out the quirks Izuku had, both Inko and Izuku arrived back at their home. Though now, the two were currently sitting down at the table in their home as Inko began to speak first. Izuku, I think it's time I told you more about our family. Considering I was going to tell you just when you were a bit older, but now that you've awakened your quirk or quirks, I should do it now. Says Inko, explaining her reasoning. Sure, I'd love to know more. Says Izuku, agreeing with a nod while paying attention. Okay, so let's start with the flame pattern marks on your face. You see, Izuku, those marks have been passed down in our family for many generations from our ancestors of the Kamado family, including me. Even though I don't show mine openly as much now due to the fact that I can make it appear and reappear along with my own reasons, it's still something that can help you in the future, and I will tell you more about it at a later time. But first, your quirk, Musen's Greed, was inherited from an ancestor who was the child of the Kibutsuji family, who unknowingly married into the Kamados on my mother's side of the family. Says Inko, explaining. Okay, I get that, but what about my second quirk? Asks Izuku. Most likely inherited from my father due to the fact that he left after I was born. It's possible it came from him, considering my mother never knew what his quirk was and guessed at what it was along with the gene factor of quirks. Says Inko, explaining. And the third quirk? asks Izuku curious. Comes from your father's side of the family. But because of your father's quirk it may have awakened yours a bit and made it a bit more powerful in the process. As you know, we do have the star-shaped birthmark above our left shoulder blade. I have it due to a blood transplant your father offered to me years ago, but it solely comes from your father's side of the family. Says Inko explaining this. I see, so what does this mean? Can I become a hero or not? Asks Izuku worried. This being said by Izuku causes Inko to smile and speak now. Honey, of course you can, but always remember to fight for your dreams and be careful. I mean that. Says Inko reassuring her son, but being serious at the end. Okay, I will. Say Izuku with a smile. That day I found out so much about my quirks and what they meant, but that won't hold me back, nor will it deter me from moving forward. If anything it pushes me to do better. After all, life can be bizarre, but if it wasn't then there would be no fun. A couple of years later. It's been years since the day in the doctor's office and the talk after. Now Izuku is a 14-year-old who is currently running in his school uniform on the way to school, but also to see a hero fight as well. Izuku had changed a bit in terms of his appearance. He now wore Hanafuda earrings while his hair was overall the same, but over the years he did grow it out making it resemble his father in his younger days, along with a face too. Now part of the back was kept in a ponytail, it still had its same color, along with red tips to go with it due to the fact that the Kamado family being close relatives of the Tsujikuni family. His flame-like patterns on the left side of his forehead and the flame-like pattern on the right side of his lower cheek had fully matured and now matched the overall. He still had an innocent appearance, but would also have a roguish look to match, but when it was something of importance he looked very serious and focused. He has a set of 4 symmetrical freckles in diamond formations, one on each cheek, but despite these prominent traits. Over the years Izuku got the muscle mass to fit his age, along with being the same height as most of his peers, as he now stood at a height of 5'8", 173 centimeters, making him the same height as Momo. So right now he was wearing his school uniform with a modified trench coat length Gakurin Tsumiri with a tall, stiff collar, pierced on the left with a golden chain. Underneath, he wears a fitted sleeveless shirt and a pair of slim-fitting 20,000 yen pants of very short sharp flares held up by 2 thin belts, often differently colored, patterned in a row of alternately colored tessellated triangles. Along with this he usually wears oversized red boots with thick white soles, laced up to the top. He also has a cap that is adorned near the center with a golden button and, on its left, a rectangular golden plate with a design of a flattened hand. It is torn at the back, appearing to merge with his hair. So right now Izuku had reached where the villain was and a crowd formed to watch heroes take care of it. That's one huge villain. Says Izuku observing with a small smirk. The first incident was in King City, an extraordinary child was born that eradicated light. After that reports of people with superpowers popped up across the globe, no one knew what was causing these quirks. Before long the supernatural became totally normal. Dreams a reality, the world became a superhuman society with about 80% of the population possessing some uncanny ability. Our streets looked like scenes from comic books, as cities swirled with chaos and confusion, a new profession dominated our collective consciousness. The giant villain was roaring at the top of a train rail and hit an electric cable that fell. Citizens nearby were a bit shocked. A person came running in that direction to stop it. It was an age of heroes. The man assumed to be a hero comes up, stopping and smashing his fists together as he puts his hands up catching the metal cable and stopping it from causing damage while grunting as citizens cheer for the man. Oh nice. Way to go Death Arms. Says a male citizen in a suit impressed while identifying the man as Death Arms the punching hero. Death Arms wears a large headband with a yellow and black striped caution pattern matching his thick wrist guards and the belt around his waist, a square buckle with a triangular decoration, sat in its center. He wears what looks to be a cyan-colored cardigan, which exposes his lower torso and the center of his pectorals, held onto his chest on each side by small metal nuts. His pants are dark blue, a white stripe down each side, and are slightly baggy on him, and his shoes are plain black with a simple design. Now, as he is currently holding the rubble from what the villain did, police in the area are keeping citizens back as someone comes up and makes a water line in a fashion resembling caution tape. Everyone please stay back. This area is far too dangerous. Says a second hero, keeping them back from entering the area. Wow, the rescue specialist Backdraft is here, he'll make sure we're okay. Says another citizen. Backdraft is dressed like a firefighter, sporting a long yellow jacket with high visibility lines running down the center, along his sleeve cuffs, hem, and high collar, as well as a red fireman hat. A thin cannon is strapped to his left shoulder, which is attached to the red water tank he wears on his back. He wears a white mask with a single orange bead embedded into the center, which could possibly be his eye. He has taps for hands with circular wrist guards just behind their openings, red valves over the top, a pair of similar knee pads on his legs, and yellow sneakers on his feet. While that was done, Izuku was at the front watching and writing down everything he saw in a notebook he had as people were talking about the scene, as another was on the phone telling their boss he would be late. Izuku was still writing and watching as fangirls started yelling and swooning over someone who just swooped in. "Get away from me or I'll break your toothpick," says the villain. Izuku watches in anticipation at the fight between the villain and the heroes. "This is gonna be good. It's Kamui Woods," says Izuku with a grin as the now identified Kamui Woods. Kamui Woods' face is unknown since he has only been shown while he is using his quirk. His hero costume includes a wooden belt, wooden knee pads, and wooden shoes. A small rose veil hangs from the left side of his belt. He may be new, but he's making a big name for himself, says Izuku, observing with a grin as a man next to him speaks. "One look at that dopey grin and I know what you are," says the man, getting Izuku's attention as he spoke again. "A fanboy," says the man as Izuku has a nervous smile. "Sorta," says Izuku nervously. As that was happening, Kamui dodged the villain's hand as it slammed down. He then jumped on the hand and started running up the arm. Kamui then sent his wooden arm to wrap around the other villain's arms to immobilize movement, but the villain swung that arm, taking Kamui with it. Kamui then brought it back and landed on the railway, sliding back a bit as he faced the villain. "Assault, robbery, and illegal use of powers during rush hour traffic. You are the incarnation of evil," says Kamui Woods, putting his hand out as it transforms and stretches into many wooden branches. "There is his special move," says Izuku, still observing. "Go on, tree man. Show us something flashy," says the man next to Izuku. "Preemptive binding lacquered chain prison," says Kamui, and Izuku knew what was coming from this. Kamui Woods sent the attack at the villain in fast speed as the villain covered his face for defense with his arm. As it looked Kamui would win, something large swooped in and spoke. "Canyon Cannon," says the voice of a giant woman, swooping in and kicking the villain in the face and making him fall back to the ground on his back as Kamui's attack did not hit. Izuku, the man next to him, along with the heroes were shocked to see this. The villain landed on his back unconscious as the giant woman now stood up completely standing as men with cameras came and saying "money shot" in a chanting way as they were snapping pictures. Izuku saw this and had one thought on the matter. But grief made Izuku annoyed. So with this thought happening to currently run through Izuku's mind, the woman took a pose with her butt out a bit as she spoke while holding the villain by two of her fingers. "Piece of cake for the world's next hottest hero," says the woman as she turns her head. "Hi everyone, I'm Mount Lady, and you don't have to worry about this bum anymore," says the now identified Mount Lady, sticking her butt out and winking for a pose as the people chanting "money shot" under their breath continue to take pictures. Mount Lady is a voluptuous young woman who has purple eyes with white pupils with elegantly long eyelashes. She has long, voluminous, creamy blonde hair reaching her waist with two shorter strands curled to frame her face, which are parted slightly to her left. Her hero costume is composed of a purple and pale tan colored skin-tight bodysuit, which is accented with orange stripes. The suit appears to have a pair of purple gloves with orange accents on the edge of the cuff. The design is similar for her boots, which are cut off at the thigh in a deep V shape. The suit also has three peculiar orange diamond-shaped dots on the purple top that are located under her chest, and she also wears a purple domino mask with horn-like protrusions on the sides. As this action by Mount Lady was happening to continue, all the men had perverted looks while looking at Mount Lady, while Izuku sighed even more heavily while adjusting his hat. Happy a new hero popped up, but disappointed with this fan service attitude, she gave off to the crowd in front of her. People were cheering as Kamui was looking around, shocked that his attack stopped midway as he spoke. "Wait, she's getting all the credit?" Kamui asks, shocked. With the rise of superpowers came the explosive increase in criminal activity. While governments were stuck trying to reform laws with quirks in mind, courageous people started performing heroic acts to keep our city safe. Beth Arms and Backdraft were speaking while looking on as Mount Lady was waving as the police had the villain restrained with her nearby, along with the press taking pictures as she waved. "Protecting us against villains who abuse their powers for evil." With overwhelming public support, heroes found an official place as peacekeepers overseen by the government. Those who performed the best were paid the most and got all the fame and glory. Their careers depended on their ability to stay in the spotlight. Though soon, Mount Lady got a dark look as proof of her vanity in the face of the crowd and public view before her and her career. A bit later. So after all that action, the villain situation was taken off. As Izuku stayed behind to write down the last bit of notes he saw from this fight, with a dent in the ground where the villain landed after he fell unconscious in front of him as he took a closer look. "Gigantification, huh?" Izuku to himself as he starts mumbling at a fast speed while copying down what he saw and making notes. What a fanboy. Are you taking notes over there? Wanna be a hero too, huh? Asks the man from before as he gets Izuku's attention. Yes, more than anything. Says Izuku with a proud smile. Eldera Junior High School. Izuku was sitting in class with his body leaned down in his seat as he had his hat tilted to cover his face. Other students were talking, but it stopped when the teacher came in to speak. So, as third-year students, it's time to start thinking seriously about your futures and what you want to do with your lives. Says the teacher being serious. I could pass out some career aptitude tests, but why bother? Says the teacher, grabbing the papers and throwing them in the air with a smile. I know you all want to go to the hero track. Says the teacher as the students in the room except two show off their quirks happily while cheering. Yes, you got some very impressive quirks, but no power usage allowed in school, get a hold of yourselves. Says the teacher in a commanding tone as a voice speaks up. Hey teach. Says the voice as everyone becomes quiet. Don't lump me in with this bunch of losers. I'm the real deal, but these guys will be lucky to end up as sidekicks to some busted D-lister, heh. Says the arrogant voice of a 14-year-old Kitsuki Bakugo who is leaning back in his chair and has his feet kicked up on the table, who basically said they were all beneath him. Bakugo over the years due to the constant praise of his abilities and his powerful quirk developed a superiority complex and because of that, he desires to be the first and best at everything. As pointed out by many people, Bakugo loves to win above all else and cannot stand it when he doesn't, leading him to lose his already short temper or, less often, sulk. As such, he is fiercely competitive and will never settle for less than the number one spot. He is a crude, arrogant, short-tempered, and aggressive person. Bakugo tends to come off as an anti-hero, if not downright villainous for those not familiar with him. This problematic behavior goes all the way back to his early childhood days when he was known to bully a young Izuku Midoriya. This however stopped when Izuku during the years of understanding his quirks had beat Kitsuki to a bloody pulp 5 years ago, landing him in the hospital, which only fueled his anger more for him, as he is always trying to one-up him in everything. So now Bakugo had caused a commotion making everyone in the room angry, except Izuku who was still in his same position. Looking as if he were asleep as the students started responding to Bakugo. You think you're better than us, Kitsuki? Asks an angry male student. Let's go, I'll take you all on. Says Bakugo eager as they all got quiet as the teacher started speaking up. You've got impressive test results. Maybe you will get into the UA high, says the teacher as Bakugo had a smug look with everyone looking shocked as Izuku leans his head up just an inch but leans it back down fully again as everyone is commenting on this. He's gonna try out for national school. Asks a female student. That school has a 2% acceptance rate. Says a male student. It's impossible to get into. Says another male student. That's exactly why it's the only place worthy of me. Bakugo gets arrogant as he jumps from the seat and onto his table standing up. I aced all of the mock tests. I'm the only one at this school who stands a chance at getting in. I'll end up more powerful than All Might himself and be the richest hero of all time. Says Bakugo, clenching his left hand while raising it. People all across the world will know who I am and it all starts with the UA high. Says Bakugo. Oh yay, Midoriya doesn't want to go to the UA too. Asks the teacher making Bakugo freeze as the class looks at him with shocked expressions on their faces. Izuku J.K. Midoriya, who was otherwise known as a fighter of focus, commitment and sheer will along with the best grades, top student of the class and entire school. Proven only by acing all the mock tests along with being the very best athletic student, able to play in every sport while interning outside for the Speedwagon Foundation, where his mother is the chairwoman and a sitting board member. Over the years, Izuku's personality hasn't changed much, but only with a few minor add-ons to his overall attitude. Izuku can act like a rough delinquent, but he has a gentle heart and is loyal to those he likes. He is highly perceptive, highly intelligent, and quick-witted, while keeping a perpetually cool, slightly neutral or disinterested attitude being more helpful, along with being polite boy and reserved, as he is a more confident and brave person who strives to become a true gentleman. Eventually developing leadership skills due to the internship. Though, a key part of him that never disappeared was his fanboy nature from time to time. Additionally, Izuku is quite diligent and strong-willed. His dream and goal drove him to develop a great analytical mind and can form complex battle plans in seconds, which factor in both his allies' and enemies' quirks. In a way it made him a perfectionist that would keep at something until he mastered it, and his triumphs in other fields made him very confident in his abilities and talent, but not arrogant, as he trained and worked hard. Whenever one of these personality traits was challenged, as they tended to be by Bakugo or other classmates, friends or rivals, Izuku's competitive streak emerges fully. Izuku himself, as a young teenager, never really showed off his quirk, as it seemed to show off to everyone that he never developed abilities, but the truth was he was training in his free time. Izuku was subjected to bullying by his schoolmates at school for not showing his power, as his schoolmates verbally did it, but it all stopped when someone tried to beat their superiority into him, with Izuku putting him in the hospital because of being provoked. Even when many in the school tried to attack him, and all ended up in the hospital because of the overwhelming strength he possessed, as the fight also showed off his Musen's greeting, the fight making him look villainous to some, as they never could get used to how it looked, but Izuku never paid it any mind, as he had a goal and dream to fulfill. He could also have a violent nature when provoked, and throughout all of his school career he beat down bullies who picked on the weak. Izuku is not one to really hold a grudge, but does not like the current system of how the hero society works, where you can't use your quirk in self-defense and must wait for a hero. He can't stand how the hierarchy of society is now, as they push the quirkless away, as they appear to be the subjects of mockery and a level of prejudice, commonly. Anyone who does not possess a quirk is considered to be weak and worthless, or that their circumstances are incredibly unfortunate and rare, which Izuku thinks should change to put them on equal footing and give them equal chances in the hero society, along with hating people with superiority complexes. And people thinking themselves stronger to beat him if they don't show off their full potential and half-ass everything, which disgusts him. Along with this, Izuku appears to have a more brash and abrasive side to him. This typically shows up when he finds himself in combat. This side of him was built on his own, with a bit of it being influenced by Bakugo's help, but the major difference from the two is Izuku loves fighting above all else. The sights, the sounds, even the taste of his own blood, yet he is very disciplined in a fight, never allowing his failed plans or attacks to upset him, never letting superior numbers or power intimidate him. And always willing to do whatever must be done to gain victory. Although he sometimes imposes limitations on himself, such as not using certain techniques more than once, willing to lower himself with unbecoming tactics or excessive displays in order to change tactics and exploit advantages. Perfectly aware of his talents and does not feign modesty, bluntly stating when he is stronger than his opponents and belittling them when they continue to defy him. Conversely, if he is proven wrong or somebody posed a legitimate challenge to him, he will admit it and apologize for previous remarks if necessary. In addition, stemming from this, he will feel insulted if he knows an opponent isn't using their full power against him, and also with a strong drive towards victory. He has also admitted that he doesn't like this side of him very much and tends to keep it in check. Along with the fact of having power and possessing so much of it, Izuku therefore dislikes to waste it on unworthy causes or unchallenging opponents, claiming disgust when he's forced to. Say if it were to impress someone when the person could be saving a person, he would not like it, or if he were fighting someone powerful who refused to go all out on him, then he would not like it. Izuku's attitude can go from his usual innocent and fun-loving personality to his unforgiving and cold, ruthless, and tactical personality as well. He can be like this most of the time, but around his family and Momo, he can be very compassionate. So now, here was Izuku looking up at the teacher with a calm look, but also they could see the annoyed glare of an ice storm he had behind his eyes, as the class noticed it while looking at him as they started speaking. Midoriya. There's no way they let him in. He's too ruthless. Says one student. Yay, what of it? And while we're on the subject of this, I aced all the mock tests along with getting a recommendation that I will be going to along with the entrance exam, and even if I didn't have a quirk, they got rid of the rule of not having one. Says Izuku with a glare. As Izuku said this, he was about to go back to his peaceful moment until Bakugo got pissed and launched an explosion at his desk, which made Izuku jump back and land gracefully on his feet as Bakugo spoke. Listen up, Deku. Says Bakugo angry as Izuku sighs at this. You're even worse than the rest of these damn rejects, you freaking wannabe. You really think they'd let someone like you in when they can have me? Asks Bakugo with Izuku adjusting his hat. But grief. Says Izuku as he adjusted his hat to continue speaking. Yes, they would let me in, considering I can keep my attitude under control and don't explode like some raving maniac on the street who acts like a dog who chases his own ass while seeking approval in himself for his abilities like some damn dog who wants praise from said owner. Says Izuku with a glare as he continued further. So do you really want to fight me? Because that can be arranged right now. Asks Izuku as his eyes glowed plum red and his nails elongated, indicating he was ready for a fight. Over time, these two had stopped being friends entirely, with Izuku basically not wanting to have any association with Bakugo and stopped calling him by his nickname. Their mothers are still good friends, but their sons are a whole different story. Enough, you two. Or I'm sending you both to the principal's office. Says the teacher. Like that's even a threat to me, just start the damn lesson already. Says Izuku getting back to his seat as the rest of the day at school continues. 12:02 p.m. Same city. In another part of the city, a woman screamed as she was on the ground with a blue barrier surrounding her as people looked at the scene and the shopkeeper came out. "Hey. Get back here. Someone stop that monster," says the shopkeeper as a sludge monster is running away. "Yell all you want, sucker, this cash is mine," says the sludge villain as he runs with a few bills falling freely with the citizens watching and speaking. "Dude, where are all the heroes?" asks a male citizen. "Weird, normally someone would swoop in right away," says another male voice as a man steps out with a bag. "Maybe they're all still busy from that scene this morning," says another, remembering what happened as they see the sludge villain continue to run. "Remember when we didn't have to worry about randoms with quirks all the time?" asks another male voice as the person behind them transforms into a large man. "Seriously, there's no stopping him," says another as the man behind them begins to speak. "Yes there is. Says the man as the crowd in front turns around as they become surprised and shocked while being excited as well as he walks up. Do you know why, asks the extremely muscular man walking up as the villain who is currently running turns his head and is now extremely concerned. "I am here. Says the man with a permanent smile on his face. Back at school. School was letting out now as Izuku was on his phone looking through feeds about what happened this morning. "Man, that fight from this morning is all over the news. Better write some notes down before I leave and forget anything," says Izuku, picking up his notebook about to put it in his bag, but it's snatched away from him. This in turn makes Izuku get irritated and a bit angry as he knows who it is. "I don't know what you think you're doing, Deku, but we're not done," says Bakugo as Izuku's what is shadowing his face. Bakugo's two lackeys come up as one of them were the ones there that day when Bakugo decided to attack Momo when they were small children. "What did you get?" "His diary," asks the lackey who has a long finger, Quirk, as Bakugo looks at the notebook. "Don't tell me you're taking notes on how to be a hero. That's so pathetic," says the same lackey as him, and the other laughs. "He's delusional," says the second one, rubbing the back of his head. "Give it back, Bakugo," says Izuku, standing up now with Bakugo exploding the book in his hands while silently infuriating Izuku more now as he tries to remain calm. Bakugo then throws it out the window as Izuku is silent as he begins taking off his hat while wondering where this was going and waiting to act as Bakugo speaks again. "Most first-string heroes show potential early on, people look at them and know they're destined for greatness. When I'm the only student from this garbage junior high to get into UA, people will start talking about me like that. They'll realize I'm legit, the next big thing. That's not ego talking, I just know I'm good," says Bakugo, being smug. "BGO," says one of his lackeys in a low sing-song voice. Bakugo puts a hand on Izuku's shoulder that has smoke emanating off it from his quirk. Izuku for his part glares at Bakugo, who begins to speak again. "Here's a little word of advice, nerd. Don't even think of applying or showing up there or else." Bakugo and Izuku remain silent, trying to calm his inner fury as they start to leave the room. "That's just sad. I thought you at least had some fight in you," says the first lackey, looking back. "He finally gets it, he'll never be a hero. Better to find out now instead of later, I guess," says the second lackey, looking back as Bakugo stops. "You know, if you really want to be a hero that badly, there actually might be another way. Just pray that you'll be born with a better quirk than the one you have now in your next life and take a swine dive off the roof of the building," says Bakugo, suggesting him to do suicide. Izuku is now taken over by rage and turns around, running at them in speed, punching Bakugo hard in the face, making blood spew forth from his nose. He then turns around to the two lackeys of the blonde as he uses his forearm to slam the first lackey into the wall hard, and the second one he kicks in the side of his head, sending him slamming down into a bunch of desks. So once that's done, he turns around to face Bakugo and kicks him hard in the chest, making him hurt more. "Now let's make something clear," begins Izuku, who swiftly grabs Bakugo by the throat and starts choking him. "If you ever tell me to do such a thing like that again, I'll not only report it, but I'll carry out my own threat and make sure you can never use your arms again. Literally," says Izuku as both his arms are covered in a dark red mass with sharp-toothed mouths that is usually covering his limbs and body when in that form, featuring sharp-toothed wide mouths, but he uses the arm version as he begins to speak again. "And get it through your thick skull that you have no control over me or my actions. We're not friends, and we haven't been anything close to it, so stop talking to me so casually, got that?" "Good," says Izuku, throwing him to the other side of the room hard while leaving. Outside. "That idiot. You can't go around telling people to kill themselves. Where does he get off on telling people shit like that? If someone were actually that done with life and jumped, what would he do then?" Thought Izuku was walking to find his notebook, looking around as he then finds a koi fish pond where the book is with the fish trying to eat it like food. "Hey, that's not fish food," says Izuku, grabbing the book and making the fish go away. Says Izuku thinking as he starts to walk off from the school. But Izuku was walking home as his phone went off and he checked it to find a text and started to respond. Momo. Hey, are we still on for a meeting at the cafe? Izuku. Yeah, I'm walking now right now, I'll be there in a bit. Momo. Okay, I'll see you then. So now with that out of the way, Izuku walks through some overpass on the way to the cafe but stops before entering in thought. I made a decision that day. No matter what anyone else thinks of my quirks being villainous or who I'm related to, I have to believe in myself and I'll keep smiling just like him. Thought Izuku was putting the book away in his bag, making notes to get a spare one at home to write down everything from the one he has. Izuku begins walking, enjoying the stroll towards the cafe as something comes up from behind him as he notices it himself. Shit, a villain? Asks Izuku, not knowing what this is. You'll make a perfect skin suit for me to hide in, kid. Says the villain made of sludge as he jumps at Izuku, who jumps back himself with his eyes glowing plum red as he activates his second quirk. Aura manipulation. Explosion, says Izuku, makes a black explosion that hits the villain dead on as he jumps back out in the open and not in the tunnel for room. The villain puts himself back together and is not angry with this boy who he can't get a hold of and now is wasting time with him. You damn brat. Says the sludge villain as he lunges again. Aura manipulation. Explosion. Frigakinesis, says Izuku as he sends another at him, sending him back flying. The villain attacking Izuku quickly puts himself back together after being sent flying into multiple places and is reformed above Izuku. Your body will be mine. Now stop struggling and let me take you. Says the villain as Izuku is disgusted and utters his next move. Aura manipulation. Barrier, says Izuku, creates a black-colored barrier around him as the villain hits it and can't attack him and proceeds to try and get past the barrier. Alright, let's end this. Says Izuku as he prepares to take action, but he hears the sewer entrance cover pop off as someone is on their knees in the tunnel. He has short blonde hair, swept backwards, with two distinct tufts that stick up above his head, leaning slightly to each side, which often casts a dark shadow over his face, hiding everything but his bright blue eyes. Have no fear. You are safe. Says the muscular man as he stands up fully and slams his foot a bit, making air come up. Now that I'm here, that is. Says the man. The sludge villain sends a fluid tendril while running at the man, who dodges it and runs forward while he brings his right arm back for a punch while at the same time saying his attack. Texas smash, says the man, hitting the sludge and causing a large wind pressure to come forth, sending him back. I can't move, tch, damn it. Says the villain, who is now in tiny pieces everywhere now. Wait, that's All Might. Thought Izuku, shocked as he deactivated his quirk with the now identified All Might coming up to him. It's really you? Says Izuku, losing his cool attitude and now going full on fanboy. Well, it looks like you're alright and even held him off with your quirk. Says All Might. Yeah, well, I couldn't just let him attack me, even though it's the law to not use quirks, which I find stupid. Says Izuku, a bit embarrassed. Well, my boy, it's alright with me. Sorry about that back there, I didn't mean to get you caught up in my justicing. Usually I pay more attention to keeping bystanders safe, but it turns out this city's sewer system is pretty difficult to navigate. Anyway, you were a big help, thank you, says All Might. I've captured the evildoer, says All Might, holding two bottles while striking a heroically bizarre pose as Izuku is internally fanboying. The most amazing hero, All Might. The real thing in the flesh, standing right in front of me. He looks so much cooler in person. Thought Izuku as he noticed something. Oh, I almost forgot, I gotta get an autograph and picture. Says Izuku, digging into his bag and pocket now and coming over to All Might. Please sign my notebook and take a picture with me, please. Asks Izuku, being polite. Sure thing, my boy. Says All Might as he takes the picture with his first and then signs his notebook, but notices that there are notes on heroes in good detail, even his entry, which is well thought out, along with theories Izuku has come up with. This kid is a goldmine, has a bright mind, and a tactical one too. Thought All Might signed the book and handed it to him. Thank you so much. This'll be a family heirloom for generations to come. I'll treasure it greatly. Says Izuku fast while bowing over and over again. Aha. Says All Might, giving a thumbs up. Well, I've gotta get this guy to the police so they can take care of him. Stay out of trouble and see you around, says All Might as Izuku sees he is about to leave. Wait, you're leaving? Already? Asks Izuku, fixing his hat. Pro heroes are constantly fighting time as well as enemies. Says All Might, stretching a bit as he prepares for something. He can't go yet, there's still the question I have to ask him. Thought Izuku as All Might began to speak again. Now stand back, I'm taking off. Says All Might as he jumps up high into the air and yells something high up. Thanks for your continued support, says All Might high up as he is leaving to get to the police. With All Might. All Might is currently in the air thinking about the encounter he just saw with Pride, but is taken out of the thoughts as he feels something. Says All Might as he looks down to see Izuku hanging on to his leg with one hand. Hey. What do you think you're doing? Let go. I love my fans, but this is too much, says All Might. No way we're flying, and even if I did let go, my quirk wouldn't help stop the fall, so I'll be landed in the hospital or die. Says Izuku. Oh, that's a good point. Says All Might, realizing that. I just have a question I have to ask you personally, you're my all-time hero. Says Izuku. Alright, I get it, now hold on. Says All Might as he looks for somewhere to land while coughing a bit and blood comes from the teeth in the smile and drips off and away due to the wind. Shit. Thought All Might as he landed on the building. Izuku was breathing to catch his breath as All Might stood looking out at the city. Seriously, that was too close for comfort. Says Izuku, still breathing as All Might began to speak. Not a very smart move. Back on the door for a while, someone will let you in. Now I have to go, see you on the flip side. Says All Might, walking about to jump off again as Izuku stands up. Wait, not yet. Just for 1 second. Says Izuku. No. I don't have any time. Says All Might. I have to know. Is it possible to become a hero even with a quirk that seems villainous, as mine? Asks Izuku as All Might stopped. What? What does he mean by that? Thought All Might was shocked. I found out that I was gifted with a threefold quirk, one that many can't stand to look at, the second that seems villainous, and the third that seems righteous. But even with all the ridicule from my peers, I never really hated them, so can I ever hope to be someone like you? Asks Izuku as All Might was still silent. How did I not see this? Why didn't I know or even bother to ask? Thought All Might. Meeting All Might was a dream come true, a real miracle. Standing in front of me was the hero I idolized most of my life beside my mother and father. I didn't realize it at the time, but that chance encounter would change the course of my future, and so would it for my family. Izuku waited for a response as All Might turned his head a bit with his body and began to speak. But the threefold quick and a villainous quirk, asks All Might, wondering what he meant by that as he feels electricity pass through him as he feels like he's in pain and straining himself a bit. Steam starts to come off him as he struggles a bit. Oh no. Not now. Damn it. Not here. Says All Might slowly for only him to hear. You see, my mom said it would be hard for people to get used to it, my quirks I mean, but during a point in time. I decided not to show them off at all, which failed with bullies who tried to show they were my superiors by tormenting me as it got physical with me ending up having to fight them. I landed many of them in the hospital and even seeked out fights with many to protect those who couldn't for themselves. I can say I'm noble or even anything of a hero, but it was my father who inspired me as well, making me want to prove everyone wrong. Says Izuku, rubbing the back of his head as he continued. He always sends letters, but is never around due to his work, so it's frustrating that I can't always talk to him. Hell, I haven't even seen the guy in my life, and it doesn't help that we don't even have a single picture of him. But ever since I was a kid, I thought saving people was the coolest thing you can do. Says Izuku, looking at the ground with a bit of a glare, but his face becomes calm with a small smile as he continues, and the steam fully surrounds All Might. I want to be a true gentleman one day like my father, and along with wanting people to see my fearless face or smile and feel safe and be the kind of hero everyone in the world looks up to. Just like you. Says Izuku, looking up to find something shocking. Izuku is currently watching as the steam goes away to show a man that looks like his health is declining and reduces him to look like a very skinny man with sharp angular features and long limbs, his neck long and his eyebrows absent. As he currently is wearing what All Might was wearing, but baggy. Izuku was very shocked at this because with aura manipulation, he could tell that this was All Might but was concerned all the same. All Might picked up on the look as well too and knew he couldn't get out of this. All Might, is this your true form? Asks Izuku, trying to calm himself as All Might sighs. Yes. Says All Might. The shopping district of Tatooine was bustling with life. As people were walking around to look for goods to buy while talking to nearby vendors, it was a very peaceful day. But in an alley in the said district lies a bottle on the ground. This bottle was full of sludge as the eyes inside opened up while wondering where they were. Where am I? What happened? Asks the sludge inside the bottle, but for a moment remembers clearly what happened to him. Oh yeah, I couldn't get that damn kid, and then that bastard came. If it wasn't for him, I'd be out of town already. Says the sludge as he hears something coming towards him from deeper in the alley. That was rough. I mean seriously, he kicked our asses and let us off lightly, I mean very lightly. Considering Midoriya is known for putting the people he fights in the hospital. says the first lackey with Bakugo, who was drinking a soda as he continued speaking. I mean, weren't you and Midoriya good friends back when you were kids? Asks the first lackey towards Bakugo. Yay, you were a little harsh with him today and got us all beaten up. Says the second lackey, who was still in a bit of pain from what happened. It's his own fault for getting in my way. Says Bakugo, kicking the bottle only for it to hit a pole and release the contents. Getting in your way or getting in his? Asks the first lackey as Bakugo raises a brow. What do you mean? Asks Bakugo, getting irritated. I mean Bakugo, you know what he did 2 years ago at the end of the school year. He didn't get expelled and he didn't even get charged. Says the second lackey. Yeah, I remember that. Says Bakugo with a cold chill coming up his spine just thinking about that damn day. He wasn't charged due to the fact that he's usually calm and collected, being the top student of our school in terms of sports and everything else. As they found out he wasn't the cause of what happened that day, and when they put him in the readjustment program it didn't change him one bit. Says the second lackey as he continued. From what I heard, he beat down the people there as well. Considering they tried to traumatize his mind with what he did that day by using some kind mind-based quirk on him, which proved to fail. Says the second lackey as Bakugo growls. If we're being honest here, his record is clean even from all that. Says the first lackey, thinking about it now. Not to mention he can get extremely violent, more so than you, but the difference is it's ice cold and not so loud. Being more so silent. Says the first lackey as Bakugo got angry at that. Someone's gotta teach that worthless nerd how the world works. Says Bakugo, exploding the soda can. I hate it when he talks about heroes. Says Bakugo, angry as the two lackeys have a smug grin. Hey, I got an idea, we should go to the arcade. Get your mind off it, you know. Says the first. Or we could sneak into the bar at the station. You know. Pick up some ladies. Says the second. Now that's a good idea. Says the second. Idiots. If we get caught there's no way UA would let me in. Says Bakugo, yelling as the two, who noticed something behind Bakugo while getting a bit scared. Hey, what's that? Asks both of them. Bakugo turns around to see what they're talking about and finds at the opening a large amount of sludge that seems to be growing. With this action happening before his eyes, the sludge villain begins to speak. Perfect. I like a skin suit with some fire. Says the sludge villain, now back to fighting Hyde in terms of how much sludge he has, and chuckles a bit. As Bakugo has wide eyes now, seeing this wasn't good at all. But Izuku and All Might. What happened to cause this? Asks Izuku, losing all cool. I assure that I'm alright, just calm do Georgia. Says All Might, but is cut off as blood seeps from his mouth, shocking Izuku even more. This is not alright. You're puking, or in this case dripping blood from your mouth. Says Izuku, being a bit mad that All Might can take this so lightly. But this said by Izuku, All Might sighs again and decides to speak. Do you know how guys at the pool are always sucking in, flexing, and trying to look buff? I'm like that. Says All Might, explaining his hero form. Okay, but it doesn't explain why you're like this. And how is it that you keep a fearless smile behind all of this? Asks Izuku. All Might sighs once again only to speak and answer him. There's plenty of fear behind that smile. Says All Might as he sits down to continue. I'm counting on you to keep your mouth shut. Don't go talking about this online or telling your friends. Says All Might, being very serious on the matter. You have my word. Say Izuku is serious. All Might lifts his shirt up, showing Izuku the scar on his side and chest that covers most of it. This scar shocks Izuku to his core, as he can tell whatever caused this affliction to the No.1 hero was from someone very powerful and had enough strength to give him a hard time and land this devastating blow to the man. So now, with this being seen, All Might decides to speak once more. Pretty gross, right? I got this in a big fight 5 years back. My respiratory system was basically destroyed, I lost my whole stomach. All the surgeries have pretty much worn me out and it can't be fixed. Right now I can only do hero work for about 3 hours a day. The rest of the time this is what I look like. Says All Might, explaining. No way, says Izuku, shocked as he remembers something, only to continue speaking. 5 years ago. So does that mean it was the fight with Toxic Chainsaw? Asks Izuku now, remembering it all. You know your stuff, but no. The punk may have landed some hits, but he couldn't bring me down. Most of the world has never heard of this fight, I did everything I could to keep it under wraps. I'm supposed to be the guy who's always smiling, right? I'm the symbol of peace, people everywhere have to think that I'm never afraid. Says All Might, clenching his hand as he begins to talk again. But honestly, I smile to hide the fear inside. It's just a brave face I put on when the pressure is high. This job isn't easy. Says All Might, explaining the reason behind his fearless smile while telling Izuku how hard it is to be a hero. Izuku heard this and took the message seriously, but he also decided to speak now on something he had been noticing through the years. That explains why you haven't been in the spotlight as of lately. After that fight 5 years ago, your appearances started to dwindle with many wondering why, but you still made sure to fight for the sake of others. You have my deepest respects. Says Izuku with a serious expression on his face with All Might nodding as he continued. Also that fight you spoke about just now, there were a lot of theories about it. I read many of them for which I came up with my own hypothesis on the matter. Says Izuku. This response from Izuku got All Might to perk up and want to hear it as he spoke. Really? Asks All Might wanting to hear this. Well, when I did start reading them, there were ones that said that whoever he or she was had to have been stronger than Toxic Chainsaw. Due to the fact that the fight caused damage on a scale higher than what he could ever do. So from here I came up with my own theory. The quirk he or she had possessed was probably so dangerous and scary that it could even overwhelm someone like you with your magnitude of strength and power that it caused the injuries you currently have. Says Izuku explaining as he continued. This led to the police and Hero Association wanting to keep this fight from the public and make a cover for it. The reason behind this cover being was so that the Hero Society wouldn't go into a raging panic as it would only promote the rise of villains. Ones who have been hiding and wouldn't come out from the shadows. Not to mention, they'd only grow in strength again as they would know you were weakening over time. Along with this at the same time, you and Sir Night Eye split up during that time in the aftermath somewhere, but no one can confirm whether or not you're both still on good terms. Says Izuku, shocking All Might as he had wide eyes. All Might had never heard such a well thought out theory, along with there being so much truth behind it. All Might for his part knew he had found a rare gem in terms of Izuku's mind. So now, All Might decided to speak on this. Yes, you're spot on, you're definitely bright and you've proven you can keep this between us. Says All Might as he continues for another reason. Now, as for your question, pro heroes are always having to risk their lives, some villains can't be beaten without powers. So yes, I think you can become a hero even with the quirks you have. Says All Might to Izuku, shocking him that he had belief in him. I see. Says Izuku, stunned by All Might's words. If you want to be a hero, then work hard to know your limits along with trying to bring them down to zero. Work hard, but always take a break from time to time, but also take the extra mile. Being a hero isn't always about being flashy or for fame, as I see you're not the kind. No, you're the kind of person who wants to get results and do his job properly, but the question right now is of your will. Says All Might, making Izuku look confused as he continued. Do you have what it takes to get past what others think of the quirks you have? So far, I see that it doesn't bother you as much as you think, but that can build up over time. So I'll say this, find your will, never abandon it, and always stride with pride. Asks All Might, getting up and walking towards the door of the roof while leaving a stunned Izuku behind. Right. Says Izuku, understanding as he listened with a thought. Find my will and never abandon it. Could it be just like how I've always wanted to be a true gentleman, thought Izuku. As Izuku had this thought, All Might had reached the door and opened it, but had stopped and spoke again for a final time. It's not bad to have a dream, young man, just make sure that your dreams are attainable and ask yourself how far are you willing to go. Understand? Asks All Might as he steps through the door and closes it, leaving. With All Might coughs a bit as he walks down the steps to finish his work. Now let's get you to the station. Says All Might, looking into his pocket but finds that the bottles he had are gone. He checks both his pockets and finds that the villain is gone and then looks frantically everywhere but hears an explosion and looks to the window on his left. Smoke can be seen not too far from where he is as it rises higher. Not good. Says All Might, seeing this. Back with Izuku. Izuku was smiling a bit, but now he was sad that All Might was not doing good and wondered if he could help. Though after some thinking, he came to an answer but heard an explosion and saw the smoke along with the explosion himself. The villain. I need to get over there and see. Says Izuku, but remembers what All Might said on finding his will and never abandoning it. With All Might was running slowly but was making his way over to the scene as the smoke was towering up into the sky and sirens could be heard with people gathering to see what was causing this. Tatooine shopping district. The smoke seemed to be coming from the shopping district as an explosion kicks off from where the fire was emanating. While said explosion causes damage, making things fly everywhere, people are running to get out of the area and away to safety. As signs fall down with death arms and 2 other heroes making it to the site with 2 police standing back. What caused this was the sludge villain from before, who was now even more large. The heroes had noticed something at the center that was struggling to get out, as it turned out to be Bakugo. It's taken someone hostage. Says Death Arms, who slams his fists together and runs forward. How dare you prey on a child? says Death Arms yelling as he runs forward. Death Arms jumps up and comes down to attack with a powerful right punch as the sludge villain laughs as it starts to pull Death Arms in as he notices. "What the hell is this? Some kind of goo?" asks Death Arms as a sludge tendrils hits him and sends him skidding to hit his back on the metal cover over a shop behind him while making a dent on it. "You okay, Death Arms?" asks a hero who runs up to join in the fighting. "Heads up," says the second hero as they jump back to avoid another sludge tendril as the sludge villain begins to speak. "Stay back or I'll snap his neck," says the sludge villain, but he notices that Bakugo is trying to get out and succeeds in getting his mouth free, yelling and starting to speak. "You picked the wrong guy to mess with. I'm gonna send you back to whatever sewer you crawled out of," says Bakugo yelling angrily as he starts to make an explosion. "Let me go," says Bakugo yelling as he makes large explosions causing damage as it proves the damage was because of him trying to escape. Death Arms is covering his face from the wind pressure and whatever debris is coming from the explosions. The other heroes do this as well. Bakugo struggles to get out even more as the sludge villain begins to speak. "You've got so much power. I really hit the jackpot with a quirk like you under my control. I can take All Might down with one punch," says the villain yelling as he sludge begins to spin around wildly. People watching behind the lines begin to talk as this goes on in front of them. "Whoa, is that some kind of special move? This dude is a hard super villain," says a male citizen. As another noticed something. "It's her. That new hero Mount Lady will stop him," says a female citizen. They notice that Mount Lady is running to the scene at the full height of her quirk. As she notices something stops running and notices something beneath her. "My only weakness. I need at least a 2-lane road if I'm going to make my way through her," says Mount Lady. While she is struggling with it, the two lackeys who were with Bakugo are stuck surrounded by fire as Wood comes, grabs them, both proving it was Kamui Woods who was running to take them to safety with more people in hand. Fire and wood don't exactly make a good combination. "I'll let someone else stop this guy," says Kamui Woods running. Backdraft was using his water quirk to put out fires in the area to stop them from spreading any further through the shopping district. "Don't look at me, I've got my hands full here. Where are those fire trucks? Can you guys get to it?" asks Backdraft to Death Arms about the hostage situation they're facing right now as well. "We can't get a grip on his weird body, plus that kid's quirk is causing explosions left and right," says Death Arms. "This is a shutout, we gotta rally and knock him out of the park somehow," says the hero right next to him. Bakugo continues to struggle more trying to get free. The sludge villain is trying to restrain him as he sent a sludge tendril at heroes who dodged. "It's no good. None of us have the right quirks to stop a villain like this," says Death Arms. "We'll do damage control until someone with the right powers shows up," says the hero next to him as a window explodes from the fire. "There's still plenty of people to save," says Backdraft. "Don't worry. I bet every hero in the city is coming," says Kamui Woods. "I'm sorry kid. You'll just have to hold on a little bit longer," thought Death Arms clenching his fists. "Damn. If I only had more power, I could blow this guy away," says Death Arms frustrated. With All Might arrives at the scene, breathing hard trying to catch his breath from running. He then looks toward the situation and sees the villain he had earlier as he remembers what happened in the air. "Must have dropped him in the air. I was distracted worrying about my time limit. I can't believe I made such a rookie mistake," and after talking with Izuku about what it means to be a hero, thought All Might clenching his shirt near the wound. "I'm pathetic." Thought All Might on the whole matter. With Izuku ran towards where the heroes were fighting the villains, all the while remembering everything that All Might said. So Izuku made it to the scene, making his way up to the front to see the sludge villain as he became shocked. "It's the guy who attacked me. Damn it. All Might captured him. The bottle he must have dropped because of me." Thought Izuku, now seeing that this was his fault. "Why aren't the heroes doing anything?" asks a male citizen watching. "Looks like they met their match. Plus the villain captured a kid, things aren't looking good for him," says another male citizen next to him as Izuku heard the conversation. "Caught someone, how long have they been in there?" thought Izuku about the situation in front of him. "Wait, I'm confused, isn't that the villain All Might was chasing earlier today?" asks another male citizen. "What? All Might? No way, he lost. Where is he?" asks another male citizen as All Might is in his skinnier form on the other side, listening to the conversation. "Well, can someone call him or something?" asks a female citizen as All Might perks up a bit. "Seriously, why hasn't he shown up to help the heroes?" asks the male citizen who was wondering where All Might was. All Might himself was still watching and listening, and he leaned his head down a bit frustrated. Izuku was the same, knowing this could have been avoided as he kept his calm attitude on the outside. "Shit. I was to blame for this," Thought Izuku was angry at being the cause of this. I'm worthless. Thought All Might was clenching his wound area. He can't power up yet, and none of the other heroes are doing anything because they say they don't have the necessary quirks to stop him. Damn it. If there wasn't a law prohibiting illegal quirk usage, people would be out there trying to help. I thought Izuku was angry. So pathetic. Thought All Might as he clenched the area of his shirt harder. Izuku and All Might continued to have their thoughts not liking the situation before them as Bakugo struggled inside the slug as Izuku noticed it was him as it shocked him more and came to the decision to run. No. I won't sit here and let someone die before my eyes. Not even if I don't like them. Thought Izuku was running forward, shocking All Might and the heroes. No more hiding yourself. Thought Izuku was running forward. My Hero Academia asked you say on. Izuku ran forward as Death Arms shouted for him to stop. No, you idiot. Stop, you're going to get yourself killed. Says Death Arms yelling. Damn it. It's that brat again. Says the sludge villain as Bakugo opens his eyes a bit about to fall unconscious. Deku asks Bakugo, confused upon seeing him. I know what I'm doing, but it feels like I found my will, the will All Might said never to abandon, but right now I'm not running on my own, it's like my body went into autopilot and I can't stop. Thought Izuku as his eyes glowed plum red, meaning his quirk was activated. You're toast, kid. Says the sludge villain about to send an attack Izuku's way. First hit the weak points. The eyes. Thought Izuku. Aura manipulation. Missile says Izuku firing a black missile with a greenish outline that hits the sludge villain's right eye dead, causing extreme pain for him. My eyes. Says the sludge villain as he loosens his hold on Bakugo who is breathing in air now. Alright now. Aura manipulation. Energy ropes says Izuku makes energy ropes with a black and greenish outline that go forward wrapping around Bakugo and Izuku pulls him out toward him. Bakugo is now pulled towards Izuku as he now has his air back and begins to speak. What the hell? Why are you here? Bakugo asks angrily. Shut up, damn it. Don't ask me, my legs just started moving on their own. Says Izuku as All Might hears this. I don't know why I did what I did. Maybe it was the look on his face. I may not like you, but hell that's not even a good reason. Bakugo, I couldn't just stand there and watch you die. Says Izuku as All Might heard this again and was shocked. While he heard this All Might began to take his hero form again as steam emanated off his body. I have to do something. No matter the cause. Thought All Might getting back to hero form quick but slowly. You damn brat. I'm done playing with you. Says the sludge villain yelling angrily. These words spoken by the sludge villain made Death Arms yell out now. Save the boy. This thing'll kill him. Says Death Arms shouting as he and other heroes rush forward now. Aura manipulation. Energy beam. Homing shock beam says Izuku sending the attack forward. By combining energy beam with lightning and hunter abilities under aura manipulation, Izuku can shoot numerous lightning enhanced energy beams that home in on their targets. Not only can these beams deal massive amounts of damage, but they can also shock foes for which this has done now to the sludge villain who is writhing in pain from the attack. Damn it. This hurts. Says the sludge villain hurt by the beams and electrocution as he went to send another tendril down at Izuku. Damn it. Can't respond quick enough without thought Izuku as the attack came down quickly to slam on impact, making dust come up from it as a voice spoke out. I really am pathetic. Says the voice of All Might as Izuku opens his eyes to see that he stopped the attack. All Might, but says Izuku was shocked that he was here knowing his condition. I told you the traits that make a great champion, but I see now that I wasn't living up to my own ideals, says All Might as he takes a stance as he speaks with blood coming from his mouth. Pros are always risking their lives. That's the true test of a hero, says All Might. Damn you, All Might. Says the sludge villain yelling out while trying to attack the man, only to be already too late. Detroit smash, says All Might while hitting the sludge villain at the center of his body. This causes wind pressure and the villain to splatter everywhere as this attack disperses the smoke and fire, making it clear again. People there are bracing themselves from the wind pressure as Mount Lady covers people and heroes there too, as well as it causes a tornado-like wind vacuum that can be seen from far away. It soon dies down as the villain's rampage comes to an end. And All Might was breathing hard as his fist was steaming. The heroes and citizens there all watched in silence with it beginning to rain as people started to notice that, and so did the heroes. Holy crap. He changed the weather. Says Death Arms as All Might wipes his mouth and stands up. That really just happened? Asks a male citizen as people start cheering for him. He just changed the weather with a single punch like it was nothing. Says another citizen in awe at the power. All Might saved the day yet again. He is amazing. Says another citizen yelling out in a cheer for the man. As this continued, All Might himself stumbled a bit. unnoticed by everyone as he puts his right arm up in a closed fist as the crowd cheers even more for him. After that the heroes collected all the scattered amounts of sludge and the villain went into police custody where he belonged. The police were currently hauling the villain into a van as All Might was in front of reporters who were taking pictures or asking questions. Izuku watched this occurring while adjusting his hat to be comfortable again as the heroes in front of him were annoying him to no end now. "You moron. Do you have a death wish?" asks Kamui Woods angrily. "There was absolutely no reason for you to put yourself in danger like that," says Death Arms shouting at Izuku. This caused Izuku to now look over at both heroes, no longer just annoyed now, but pissed as he spoke. "Really, because I did a better job than you did? You jackass," says Izuku calmly with a glare. This being said by the boy gets the attention of some reporters and bystanders who stayed and started recording the scene. "What does that mean, we had it under control?" says Kamui Woods, now even more angry than before. "I just said it for you, you didn't have the situation under control and I did more along with saving him," says Izuku. "Boy, you should have left it to us pros." Death Arms yelled out in clear anger as Izuku spoke again. "And let you wait for the proper pro hero to show up with the right quirk. Right. You and the heroes here were so fucking idiotic in making that decision when there was so much you could have done, but didn't. It's what I honestly expected from you guys really," says Izuku calmly. "What do you mean?" asks Kamui Woods, pissed off at this. "It means that you heroes only care about money and fame. Not wanting to do the actual job for what it entitles and what it embodies. Which are protecting the people, stopping crime, rescuing people. It seems to me that you only got the hero license, so you only can use your quirk freely," says Izuku as he continues with a sigh. "Now I see why it was stupid for the government to even make such a law, because you and the public can't stand it when someone who isn't a hero actually does something heroic and does the job better without a license," says Izuku with an irritated expression while speaking calmly. "There was nothing we could do with the situation at hand. You put yourself in danger when you didn't need to," says Death Arms reprimanding Izuku. "There was plenty you could have done, dumbass, and I wasn't gonna sit back and let my classmate die," says Izuku now outright angry as they all became shocked that the two kids were classmates, only for him to continue. "Take notes on what I just did here for you. By hitting the sludge villain in the eye, which was the villain's weakest point due to the fact that his body was made up of sludge, you could have easily blinded his vision and made him immobile enough to pull the hostage out. Instead of waiting on a hero with the right quirk," says Izuku, making the heroes now realize this as he continued further. "Seriously, you're all complete and utter wastes of space when it comes to being heroes in this society. If you can't even do the job right, then you shouldn't complain when someone on the sidelines actually decides to act and at least try. Along with that, if you can't deduce weak points in your opponents quickly and effectively, or don't have the will to risk your own life for the people you swore to protect, then you're in the wrong career field," says Izuku, finishing up while being harsh now. "What the hell is your problem?" asks Mount Lady now angry. "My problem is with people who can't use their heads and the abilities they have. It disgusts me that you can call yourself a pro hero really. The pros and people who want to be pro heroes only care about money and fame instead of doing it for the reason of promoting balance, order, and stability. Well, instead they like to half-ass everything, as I've seen here," says Izuku with calm anger as he points to each one of the heroes as he speaks again. One who is a tree-hugging wonder, the second who is a jacked-up muscle-bound caution sign. And the other being a bimbo who only cares about her vanity and fame in the spotlight. "You're nothing special at all," says Izuku, pointing at Mount Lady with a glare as he continued. Praising the hostage for a powerful quirk when he got taken as a hostage in the first place, and reprimanding the person who did more than you with the quirks he had along with All Might coming in to finish the job, says Izuku as he continued further. "So in other words, fuck off. Look in the mirror. And start acting like actual fucking pro heroes, got it? Good," says Izuku as he is fully walking off now. He never noticed the looks everyone gave to this, as it seemed to shock everyone present by what he said, with the pro heroes not being able to say a thing, as they knew there was truth behind everything he just said. So now, Izuku stopped and said one last thing. "And the funny thing is my legs moved on their own. Proving it wasn't my doing, willingly," says Izuku, now leaving entirely now while surprising All Might. "I got chewed out by the heroes and told them off about themselves to reflect on the fact that they were in the wrong, and Bakugo got praised for his quirk and bravery, which in all honesty didn't contribute to anything." Bakugo for his part looked on at Izuku's retreating form, as one of the pro heroes in front of him continued ranting on about the blonde joining his agency, for which people were still recording, proving Izuku's words to be in fact right on the entire matter at hand. Sunset. It was currently sunset, as everything had officially calmed down with the news showing what had transpired with the sludge villain. Which involved Bakugo along with a topic on All Might and what Izuku said to the heroes before leaving, which went viral. As people sat back and thought about the harsh words Izuku said to the heroes. It was true due to the fact that much of the populace in Japan was getting tired of the quirk laws, along with heroes seeming to not be doing their job, leading to much of the frustration, as some of many seemed to be taking matters into their own hands. Honestly, they're making a big deal out of the obvious by making a law that prohibits quirk use, heroes half-assing the job, and then complaining when citizens intervene instead of watching while picking up the slack for their mistakes. I swear they never understand, but that's how this world is, I guess. Thought Izuku as he continued walking, not in too much of a rush. Now, as Izuku was walking towards the cafe to meet up with Momo, and now finding himself to be extremely late. He decided to look at his phone and became shocked when he saw the missed phone calls and text messages that he received. As he just received one just now and decided to respond. Momo. Zuzu, where are you? I just got here at least 15 minutes ago, showing I was late, but come to find out you're late as well. Are you still on your way? Izuku. Yes, I'm on my way now. Got caught up in so much you won't believe. Momo. Well, as long as you're still coming. I'll order something for you, so get here as quickly as possible. Izuku. Okay, I will. So with this, Izuku took the time to respond to his mother's as he walked along with this to calm her down as she saw the news report. As he was walking, he was thinking about today as a whole, while not expecting things to escalate like they did. I wanted to apologize to All Might, but he was swarmed by interviewers. I didn't want to interrupt. I could always try to send a message through his website when I get home. Thought Izuku was running behind him. Eku says in a familiar voice as Izuku turns around to face them. Bakugo asks Izuku, wondering what he ran here for. Bakugo was breathing hard as he just got down from running all the way here. So now, he began to open his mouth to speak as Izuku looked on. Listen, I would never ask for a weakling like you to help me. Don't think you can look down on me. Huh. Got that, I was fine by myself. You're just a villainous failure who wanted to even cut it as a pro. You didn't help me. You did nothing, don't forget. Says Bakugo while pissing off Izuku. Really, because from what I saw you had tears in your eyes. So the next time you're ungrateful, you can take it up with the heroes who were practically useless, especially the attitude you're giving me. You can take that up with someone else as well, and not me. Says Izuku with a bored tone as Bakugo grits his teeth and speaks again in a shout. I don't owe you anything. Bakugo yelled while turning to walk away as Izuku got a sweat drop. But grief. What was that about? I mean seriously. I helped you and you get all pissy. Thought Izuku as he sighed again. Well, let's not worry about it, I need to get to Momo. Thought Izuku was now taking off the hat and putting it in his bag as he walked. I am here. Says All Might coming into view as he slid in, striking a very bizarre pose. All Might. Why are you here? Matter of fact, how did you get rid of all those reporters? Asks Izuku, wondering about that. I stand for justice, not sound bites, because I am more man than Gwack. Says All Might, spitting out blood again and turning back to his normal form. Young man, I came here to thank you and to discuss more of your questions from earlier. If you hadn't told me about your life, if you hadn't run into that fight, I would have been a worthless bystander watching from the crowd, so thanks. Says All Might, thanking Izuku gratefully. Oh. It was no problem, it was my fault that he was there to begin with. I got in the way of your hard work, I wasted your energy and not to mention your time. Says Izuku, being honest on the matter. I'm not done. You told me you had a quirk that appeared villainous, at least the one I saw. So when I saw this boy try to save a life with his power, it inspired me to act too. Says All Might, getting Izuku's full attention as he continues. There are stories about every hero, how they became great. Most have one thing in common, their bodies moved before they had a chance to think, almost on their own. Says All Might, making Izuku look surprised at this. For some reason I remembered my mother's words in that moment. Always remember to fight for your dreams and be careful. I thought Izuku was hearing those words even now after all these years, trying not to tear up a bit. And today, that's what happened to you, well, you also found your will. Says All Might. My mom told me that it would be hard, back then I knew that, and even when she said the words I needed to hear. Izuku was on his knees trying to keep it together, but failing, as All Might looked on and spoke again. Young man, you too can become a hero. Says All Might, making Izuku cry a bit. As the man somehow broke the dam on his cool attitude. Dreams can become reality. Oh. By the way, forgot to mention that this is the story of how I became the world's greatest hero in a bizarre adventure. Thanks All Might. Says Izuku, trying to calm down a bit. I needed to be sure of that outside my family and the person who I admire most in this world beside my father did. Honestly, part of me thought I'd never hear those words, much less from him. All Might raises his hands and begins to speak. I deem you worthy of my power, my quirk is yours to inherit. Says All Might, making Izuku look shocked at that. What? What do you mean to inherit? Inherit what exactly? Asks Izuku, making sure he heard right, as All Might laughs. You should see your face right now. Don't worry, I'm not gonna force this thing on you. Listen well, young man, this is your choice. Says All Might as he speaks again. Do you want to accept my awesome power or not? Plague asks All Might with lots coming from his mouth. This gets Izuku to think for a moment at these words, considering it was a big choice he would have to make. So now, he decided to ask a question of his own. Can you explain please? Asks Izuku, as All Might nods. There are a couple of things you need to know about my abilities. Journalists always guess my quirk is super strength or some kind of invulnerability when people ask in interviews. I always make a joke or dodge the question. That's because the world needs to believe that their symbol of peace is just a natural born hero like any of them, but I'm not. Says All Might, shocking Izuku as he looks on, now standing with him as he continues speaking. There's nothing natural about my ability. I wasn't born with this power, it's a sacred torch that was passed on to me from someone else. Says All Might, fully shocking Izuku now. Someone else? You mean someone gave you this quirk? No way, is Izuku not being able to say anything. Yes way, and you're next. I can give you my abilities. Says All Might. Wait, hold on, this is a lot to process. Says Izuku as he starts going into a mumble rant about giving powers. Rethinking quirks and about the first heroes as All Might sweat drops from this as he spoke out. Sounds like you overthinking this whole inheriting thing. Stop nerding out. Says All Might calmly but yells at the end to bring Izuku out of his rant. Seriously, you can go from a cool attitude to just being a nerd in under a few seconds. Says All Might, making Izuku's eyebrow twitch a bit as he continued. You'll have to adjust your reality and accept this new truth, Izuku. I can transfer my quirk to someone else, and that's just one facet of my secret abilities. The true name of my power is One for All. Says All Might. One for All? Asks Izuku after hearing the name. Yes. One person improves the power and hands it off to another person, it continues to grow as it's passed along. It is this cultivated power that allows me to save those that are in need of a hero. The truth behind my strength. Says All Might. But why would you choose a gift like that? What if I can't live up to it? Asks Izuku, worried about this. I was on a long hunt for a worthy successor and then I watched you jump into action as the rest of us stood idly by. You may just be a fanboy and have a quirk that is uncomfortable for others, but you tried to save that kid. You acted like a hero. Says All Might. I suppose I did. Says Izuku, having a shocked look on his face. Dude, seriously, you gotta stop crying so much if you want my quirk. Come on kid. Say All Might, amused. He said so much to encourage me, he even told me the secret behind his powers and pointed me in the direction of where I needed to be. Is this what I've been waiting for all these years? How can I turn him down, thought Izuku as he stood up with a determined look and spoke. Okay, I'll do it. Yes. Says Izuku. No reluctance, that's how I figured you'd respond. Says All Might with a smile. But it wasn't that simple. Receiving All Might's power turned out to be no easy task, as I'd soon find out. So when do we start? Asks Izuku. Tomorrow morning at 6, let me give you my contact information considering you're probably on your way somewhere. Says All Might as Izuku gives him his phone to put the number down in it. Alright, here you go. Says All Might, handing it back. Thanks, I'll see you tomorrow. Says Izuku, about to run off but stops for a moment as he speaks again. Hey All Might. Says Izuku, getting his attention for the final time. What is it kid? Asks All Might while turning back curious. Can I see your wound one more time? I'd like to try something. Says Izuku, being serious. This caused All Might to look a bit unsure for a moment, only to sigh and speak for his answer. Sure. Says All Might, lifting up his shirt. Izuku crouches a bit to look at it for a moment, trying to figure out something about this. So after a minute or two, he stands up fully to speak to All Might now. Alright, this may hurt just a bit to bear with me, as this will help you. Says Izuku as he activates his first quirk. Muzin's Greed. Bloodthorn, says Izuku, transforming his arm into a bloodthorn and sending it to pierce the center of the impact zone on All Might's wound while sending a bit of his own blood through him and into his bloodstream. Says All Might, yelling in pain as this happened. Calm down, now. Says Izuku as his eyes glow plum red and for him to continue. Aura manipulation. Healing, says Izuku as he begins to start the next part. Aura manipulation. Halingus, one of the abilities he took that might help someone, and now it is. The ability also gives him wound detection, as he's also able to detect wounds on the human body, though minuscule wounds are harder to detect. Alright, I can only make the process a bit faster, considering I'm not a professional healer or doctor. Along with this wound, it could take months, even up to a year, to heal with what I just did, so I'll handle the epicenter of all this pain, and what's causing the blood to spew from his mouth. The rest will be done by the blood itself, thought Izuku, as he started healing the worst bites. For the next 8 minutes he healed up the places, and then stopped standing up, as All Might struggled to stand a bit as he spoke. "What did you just do to me?" asks All Might, a bit angry that this happened. "My first quirk, Muzin's Greed, it's a quirk that has many abilities on the physical side, with some others being added into this factor of the quirk. For example, the one being my blood, I'm able to transfer a bit of it over to any person to heal them, but it takes an extreme amount of time, like any healing process does," says Izuku, shocking All Might as he continued. "As for my second quirk, it's called Aura Manipulation. It's able to copy only a few quirks at a time, and I can discard the ones I don't want or don't need. So before you worry, no, I'm not drunk on power or abuse this power," says Izuku, now noticing the even more shocked look on All Might's face as he spoke to ask a question. "So what did you use it for?" asks All Might. "The healing quirk I copied was so that I could help people in the field or wounds until proper help arrives. What I used on you was healing the outside tissue and muscles, along with fixing some of your respiratory system, as the rest will heal over time, so in the next few hours your stomach should be almost back and you can eat proper and most likely stop puking blood," says Izuku as he walks off, saying one final thing. "Plus it's only right and fair for a student to be honest with his teacher, especially when he reveals his own secrets," says Izuku as All Might looks on with a grin. "I definitely chose wisely, thank you my boy. It's almost time, but will it all turn out well?" thought All Might as he had another thought while taking out his phone. "I should make a phone call to her," thought All Might as he dialed a number while leaving to go home as well. Usatafu Cafe. The sun was setting now as Momo sat in a cafe waiting for Izuku. Over the years the two had stayed in touch with each other, always hanging out with each other or either on the phone all the time, along with walking around just to enjoy each other's company. They both had grown to become close friends and more after that day in the park. Currently, Momo is now a fairly tall teenage girl with a rather mature physique, considering her age. She has long black hair that is normally tied into a spiky ponytail, with a large strand hanging on the right side of her face, and onyx eyes that point slightly inwards, which seems to resemble a cat, as she was now wearing her junior high uniform. So now, as Momo was sitting in the cafe waiting, she ordered Izuku a banana smoothie, as she ordered her own for when he got here, so that they could talk. Momo was currently on her phone looking at news feeds and hero feeds about the sludge villain incident and the conversations news outlets were having on Izuku's comments about the current situations on quirk laws and the heroes as a whole. So, as Momo was reading one of the articles, someone put their hands over her eyes while making her jump a bit in surprise as the person spoke. "Desu?" asks the voice. Is it a green-haired boy with red tips at the ends of his beautiful hair, has a slight muscular physique, excels greatly in all fields, and has a great personality to match?" asks Momo. Correct," says the voice of the person as they take their hands off to sit, as it was Izuku who then put his hat on her head, considering she looked good with it on. After that he sat down across from her. "Sorry I was very late, I can explain it," says Izuku, rubbing the back of his head sheepishly. "It's fine, but you'd better explain," says Momo with a small smile. "I will. But let's hear your day first," says Izuku, being polite, as Momo smiles at this. "Alright," says Momo, eager to start. So for the next 30 minutes, Momo starts by telling him about her day as their drinks arrive. And after she finishes, Izuku tells Mom about his day from the morning to school, to the recommendation, and about taking the entrance exam anyway. He also tells her about the situation with Bakugo, and that he already handled there being no need to do anything, as he knew how she could get. He also tells her about meeting All Might with the autograph and picture, but leaves major things out, and finishes off with the sludge villain incident and what was said after, leaving out everything that he couldn't say or tell her. "Ra. You know what you said to those heroes was harsh, but you had your reasons," says Momo. "Understands. Best believe I did. I won't take getting chewed out for succeeding where they couldn't and saving someone," says Izuku, being serious on this as he continued to speak. "Anyway, you got recommended too, didn't you?" asks Izuku as he takes a sip out his straw. "Yes I did. So when we go, try not to be hostile to some of the other candidates present there when they speak to me," says Momo with a smile, as she knows how Izuku can be when it comes to protecting her from people who only talk to her for the wrong reasons. But grief. Fine, but if they so much as start Izuku, but see her look with a dark aura around her with a sickly sweet smile with her eyes closed, making him sweat from seeing it. Izuku, what did I say? Asks Momo with a sickly sweet smile. Says Izuku is sweating nervously while trying to find the words. Will you comply with my request? Asks Momo, still keeping a smile and a dark aura. Yes ma'am. Says Izuku agreeing fully now, due to being scared out of his mind. Good. Says Momo, as she stops the aura to continue speaking. Now, let me take you home with my ride. Okay? Asks Momo hopeful. Alright sure. But considering the county put in place a new law stating the driving age is 15 now. I'll have my license before the UA starts, so I'll be driving us around or we can walk. Says Izuku proud, as Momo giggles. Yay, now come on. Says Momo, as they get up, paying, and leaving a tip for the waiter. So, as they walk out towards the area where Momo's ride is, Izuku holds her hand as they walk, enjoying the silence, but with Momo blushing. As the night over Japan was just starting. Somewhere else in Japan. In an abandoned warehouse somewhere in Japan, a pod opens up letting out the liquid contained inside after sitting there collecting dust for so many years. Indicating it survived the introduction of quirks to the world, which led to a period of societal collapse and an age of upheaval as the tech was ancient and still working. Though, as the liquid was all gone from the pod now, it let steam come out from it, indicating the liquid was still somewhat hot from the opening pod. As a person stepped out looking around and stretching his muscles. The man walks over to a computer desk where he can operate and tries to at least find some of his agents are still alive, but muses over everything that happened so many years ago. Damn it. It would seem that a person with a stand capable of sending one's consciousness into another was actually worth finding. TCH, even when I was resurrected, I put a lot of my time into research and making a new body from the DNA in my hair and facial flesh, and it took years to process. Along with the fact that the stand users I created at my disposal only made the process a bit quicker, but not instant. Says the man walking forward as he continued speaking. Well. It all turned out for the best. But it took too long. Now, let's see where my servants are. I wonder if that arrogant shrew of a man Musin is still alive and kicking. Probably is, considering the man sees himself as the perfect being. Says the man going up to the console. A few minutes later. As he goes through it, he finds out that all of them are dead, along with Musin's death being the shocker as well, and he finds the year too. This in turn causes him to go into a rage. Damn it. Says the man angry, sending the console off the table onto the ground as it's still on. Yoshihiro Kira and his son died along with Nijimura, who died later on down the line, but before that, was mutated by the damn flesh buds. Enrico Pucci and Jingali A were both killed by the Joestar descendants, trying to avenge my death with all those who participated in killing those two, surviving afterwards. Damn it. And what's worse is that god complex bastard, Musin kicked the bucket as well. Damn the Joestars and damn the Kamados for killing the one person who could match me in power. Says the man angry and livid with everything he's just learned so far. After a while he started to calm down, and as he started to calm down, he started to think. As he now had to devise a plan for the future and where to start first. Alright, this presents a massive problem for me. Considering I still can only move around at a certain time, along with all 6 of the stand arrows and fragments being under lock and key. Collected by the Speedwagon Foundation, who is a major driving force in this world's economy now, as they survived whatever calamity had befell this world. Says the man, as he continued. So right now, I need to find out who the big fish is first at this point in time, and work with them, but I won't offer my assistance. I'll watch from the sidelines and prepare. Using this time to train and grow, then the real fun begins. Says the man, as he grabs a black cloak and begins to walk with the purpose of heading out. Let's see what this world can teach me now, from where I left off. Says the man with a chuckle, as he exits out of the warehouse into the world outside to take in the night. Thanks for watching my video, and make sure to check out the author of this fanfic, link is in the description. See you next time, till then sayonara.